update number 14. Finally got the front shocks on. I ended up taking the James Duff signature white and blue, painted them metallic gray, had some new red decals made up to go with the truck. Those are all on there, and feels pretty good now. Definitely not as loose as it was. I also went ahead and got the Explorer air temp sensor installed in my tube, made a little bracket, got the fender liners back in, so now the air filter is mounted. We got enough give there in the flex joint, so that's all finished. And you can't really see it, but I mounted a there it is, 60 amp fuse, an 8-gauge wire I'm routing to the interior. That's going to be for the stereo. For the amp, I'll have another fuse block in there, probably in my center console. And then I'll also tap into that 12-volt source for my switch panel for all the LED lights. So for the fuel pump wiring, I cut the original fuel pump relay and the wiring out of the 2.9 harness. That gives me the connection to hook up for the power, constant power. We have a ignition switch power here. Here is the ground wire that's going to be triggered by my computer. Turn it on. Have this connection here. It runs all the way over to that wire goes to the driver's side near the master cylinder. There's a plug over the master cylinder side where that'll get tapped into. This plug here will plug back into this one here. This green wire pretty much can be ignored. It's for the AC cutoff switch, the relay for that. So this is nothing that's going to be used in this application. But over on this side of the truck, this plug over here, it is in this one here. There's it's tan with a green stripe somewhere in here. And there it is. That's the wire we're looking for the fuel system. So the wiring for the fuel pump, I put in the stock relay for the fuel pump. It's plugged in to the factory chassis wiring over there. There is one 12-volt switched wire that I have to tap into the Mustang harness. There are some random plugs that were over in that corner on a Fox body for the air conditioning. I'm gonna find a switch 12-volt source right there to tap in for the relay. The tan wire, which is the ground from the ECM, is pin 22 on the computer for the Mustang, and same for the Bronco. That wire coming off the relay is this green one that I have here. I lengthened it over here because in the Mustang harness, in your test plug, this wire right here, this top corner, tan wire, goes to pin 22 on the ECM for basically the trigger wire for the fuel pump relay to run the fuel pump. So I'm going to tap this green wire to this wire right here, and that will essentially hook the relay to the computer. This tan wire is the original one from the Bronco 2 harness. This end right here is going to, I gotta find which one it is here, but one of the wires in here is going to this one here for the fuel pump. And the other one here has a single spade plug on it. And you can kind of see it right down there. And these are the ones that go to the 2 fuel pumps. Only 1 fuel pump's used on this truck, but that's how it would go if you kept the dual fuel pumps. So once I have those hooked up, I turn the key, I should have a prime pulse from the fuel pump. So we'll find out here shortly. Also, while we're in this corner, might as well show this. I have the remote TFI hooked up. I had to change the wiring where it was ripped out of the spout connector, so I had to change that. But I made a little wire harness which plugs into the bottom of the TFI. That harness runs along here to the bottom of the distributor, plugs into where the TFI would normally be on a Fox body. And there's a small void in the base of the distributor that the TFI plug would cover. I just filled that with some silicone just so I didn't get any water or mud getting up from the bottom side into the bottom of my distributor. So that's that. And I also have my Speed Hut sending units wired and everything through the firewall and a grommet. The blue wire is just a 12-volt source for my stereo stuff and switch panel in the dash. So getting ready to pull all that in and cover it up nice and neat. Alright, for the constant 12 volt and the triggered 12 volt off for the crank, for the goes in the harness for the TFI. This gray plug on the Mustang harness, I removed the bottom right and then the next one up. The bottom right is the constant 12 volt power source. And then the one above it is the one that's crank only to the TFI. So I pulled those wires out of the plug, put them on their own connectors here, and then in the Bronco 2 chassis harness, the 8-pin plug down here, I have the constant 12 volt with the ignition on, in the run position as they say. This is the 12 volt crank, so that provides the power to the TFI when it's being cranked. And then here is the fuel pump wire. So when I turn the key on now, you hear the clicking. So we have power at the idle control solenoid at the distributor, and you can't hear it, but the ECM relay inside the cab is clicking now. So now we have power. So now I just have to tap in the 12 volt source in that corner over there for the fuel pump, and we should have fuel. And to complete the fuel pump wiring, here's the original relay, the red 12 volt triggered source. Right down here, there is a black plug. There it is, you kind of see it. Let me focus it. There's a black plug in that corner. It was for one of those emissions, little, I don't know, little valve, little electronic things or whatever. They're on the back side of the shock tower on a Mustang. One of those has got, actually both of them have a 12 volt ignition on source. So right there. Put a spade connector on the end of that red wire, shoved it in that black connector, and now we have a fuel pump. Everything works.